Hello everybody, how you doing? So today, I'm off to explore a Cold War secret that's finally been made easier to access, shall we say. We're talking about Merstham AAOR site, which really there aren't that many around anymore, unfortunately. And this one's had a few stories to tell in its life. Originally, it was probably its last former incarnation was it was being used for the Metropolitan Police. I'm currently on the main road, or the actual road that this would have been on. The original path is what I'm trying to say. I'll get there in the end, and there it is in the distance. So, stay tuned, enjoy your history lesson, see you on the other side. Let's go, come on.
Merstham AAOR started life in 1951 and was part of a massive Cold War anti-aircraft defence scheme. AAOR is short for Anti-Aircraft Operations Room, and its role would be to transmit information given from a sector operations centre to the anti-aircraft gun sites in its designated area. As with several other AAOR sites, this was located on a pre-existing World War II site, that of Pendle Army Camp. The demise of the AA Command with its AAORs and the gun sites came with the advent of guided missiles and the H-bomb. The command was abolished in 1956 and the gun sites and the AAORs became redundant. In Mersham's case, this eventually became disused in 1960 and then soon after had a second life, being taken over by the Home Office, becoming allocated to the Metropolitan Police as its Southern War headquarters, and remained so until 1991 when the site had finally seen the light of day. The sad truth is that, as with most Cold War sites, its condition is a sad reminder of a time when the threat of Cold War was as real as ever, and the threat of nuclear war was just a push of a button away.
Right, so I've made it inside, and it's epically big in here, as you can probably imagine. And we're sort of standing by one of the opposite entrances, so what I mean by that is that what we just walked through is would have been one of the original entrances, and as you can see, there's this incredible Gilbert and Morris sizes, tons chain. Now we're going to have a look down first, because this is why I bought my Wellingtons, which I should have mentioned. I was trying to do this, no hands. So as you can see, this, bar any waders, is as far as we can go on the lower level, which is such a shame because it is very, very deep. So you can see I put my foot down on the next step, but that, unfortunately, everybody, for the lower level, as far as we can go. Now that was the generator room, what we're looking at. And pretty much most of the ground level would have been most of the generator block, and then you've got obviously the incredible the observation room, or the observation deck, which we're going to look at, which looks down onto that. So let's do it. To your right, there's some toilets and facilities there. You can see there's a vent there. To your left is some offices. But what's really interesting about this place is that it went through, obviously the Metropolitan Police owned it afterwards, so subsequently there was a lot of changes that had happened. But the deterioration is paramount, so you can see how flooded that is down there. If you can, I don't really want to sort of tread. I mean, it's not exactly fit for purpose, but across the mess, where my torch is flashing, would have been the main observation deck, and then obviously it would have been split into compartments. Walk around this side. So we're going to look through the what would have been officers' rooms or offices, from what I remember. And it opens up. This is where that hoist area where I needed my mask, which I've got, because it just smells. You can see they've torn everything apart, gone through with it with a fine tooth comb, and yeah, not nice. It's muddy, so like I said, I had to change into my Wellingtons, which I think was a good call on my part. See all this. Obviously you'd assume that people have probably stayed over here overnight at some point, doing some camping. And what's really interesting is that originally, when you're walking in, some of these blocks would have been split in two. So this isn't the original layout. Men's toilets. Got the control deck here. So again, it's a shame we can't go down to the lower level, but you have to understand that it's not the safest. Might go through them that way and have a look. But again, you've got stairwells, so there's a parallel, there's marrying stairwells. So what I mean by that is you've got one here that marries off to the main one at the entrance. You've got the other entrance, which is on the other side, matching with what am I going to say? The other one, matching with the other stairwell. So we walk through. It's the men's toilet. Seen better days. That distant hum and noise you can hear is the sound of the motorway, which if you come down on your own and you're not used to those sort of noises, can be quite unfamiliar and quite daunting. Sometimes I do think to myself, why the hell am I doing this on my own? But then, you know, needs must. Stairs down, let's have a look. So we can try and get a good perspective. That water you can hear is dripping. As you can see, it's way too deep. So to give you a perspective, what I'm shining my light on, that's the radiator, and that's about half flooded. So that would come up to about probably above my knees, I'd say. Can I get around there? I can. Actually, probably the best bits of condition are probably the toilets. I'll make our way now round. So this is really as far as it goes. So where we were. Got a funny feeling. I'm wearing a secondary torch, which gives me a little bit of extra light. It's starting to get muddy. So this is the other exit. Let's have a look through. Yeah, there you go. So it smells quite heavily of gas here, so don't really want to stay too long on this bit. See, there's a gas bottle there, but not a nice smell. So that's the other entrance. So they're parallel to each other. Got them numbered. Currently getting rained on. You can see the composition of the building. And I'll tell you more about most of that when we're outside. Not ideal. But this was the main control centre. The control hub. Operations were taking place with point directing from up here, looking down. This room is exactly the same. It's not really changed much from what its original purpose was. However, the eastern and western corridors we walked through one have changed the way they look. This is the other exit, or the other side of the exit. It goes in a square loop. You probably would have seen that in the map. Yeah, I don't want to go too far, don't need to really. Yeah, there you go. There's the women's toilets, which you've probably seen in your history lesson. Then looking down into what I said was like the marriage of the stairwells. So you've got 4, I think, 1, 2, and then 3 behind the men's, and 4 on the main. They're all matching. As you can see, it's amazing. Look at that. Somewhere to go for a pee. Sink. I'm assuming that's the operation for the vents, maybe. Stairwell in, stairwell down. See through that. So yeah, that's where the boiler and everything else would have been operated. And obviously you need access to that. Cooker and socket. So you can see, again, different phasing. The fact it's toilet. See what's this say. Just to make sure we get everything in sequence here. Drinking water to tea boiler. There you go. Amazing. Again, you've got a boiler there. And that's it. That is really it. But the point is, you can finally access it. Let's try and do what I promised you, which was to try and get on the control deck. Whoa, 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 whoa. That was bouncing quite badly then. Don't really, it's very hollow. Can't really see that. Let me get this. There you go. So it's looking down onto the deck. We're walking around just about. It is very, very dangerous. Ah, that probably explains why I almost fell through. There is a hole there. I've got to be so careful. Problem is that with structures like this, they're very unforgiving because it's already damp. a creak is not going to give it away. In other words, there's just a chance it's just going to fall. You're not going to hear the creak. You might just go. You might hear it give a little bit, but it might be too late then. There you go. It's an incredible control room, which is really the main hub of what we're looking at. See if I can be walking around, but again with the utmost caution. There you go. Again, like I said, you know, I have to do things a little bit differently because I'm on my own. So in other words, if anything does happen to me, well, it just does. There's nothing anybody can do about it. They can't save me. They can, and people do know where I am, but you know what I'm trying to say is that whatever happens, I'm going to be pretty much hurt. There ain't nothing, no warning. Again, part of the whole. Looking down, see there's like a menagerie of things. That's the original steps. Again, I don't think you can see that through here. Fortunately, this camera doesn't really focus. Let's walk around desperately, being as careful as possible. Original screens. Amazing. Seeing better days, unfortunately. Again, these offices. So you can't get lost. It's just a square. Walk through to the other side. Fuse box. It says, please sign in, register in room 1. So, the actual guard office originally would have been through here. As you can see. So that's where we were on the opposite side. And again, this has changed. You can see the outline, I'll show you that in a minute, of where there were originally more buildings or more offices, rooms inside here. Beautiful blue with a radiator. Again, holes and holes. There you go. Now again, there's a modern scribble, modern sort of board, whiteboard, felt board, whatever you want to call it. Boiler. And then yeah, looking through again. There you go. People have been tying whatever to this, I don't really know, but that was it. So we went through there, that was our control room on this side. We had a look. That's it. But you can, alright, that's what I was going to show you. So if you can see these. Now, originally these would have been part of the walls, and actually if you look up as well, you can see where the divides of these walls would have been, separating these rooms. So again, that's been cleared out completely. In other words, there would have been more originally. Like I said, there would have been divided into other rooms here. How amazing. So there you go. Your tour of Merstham AAOR. In a tour of it anyway. We need to go out though. Let's see. But yeah, that was it. We'll have a look just by the entrance as well. Looks to be a safe. There you go. Right, I'll show you around. Show you around the outside. Let's go. Okay, so we've made it outside and we're just going to have a quick look round. Again, it's really interesting. We sometimes are so fascinated by the inside of a building that we forget the outside, or we actually forget what's around here. What you've got to imagine is that all this concrete that you see would have led up from the original road coming down into here, and you would have been parked here or stationed on this bit, and then obviously you would have gone into the site. And you can imagine in the period of the Cold War, especially post World War II, so we're talking, obviously the war ended in 1945, as we know, Second World War, but really the Cold War sort of side of things started to creep up in about 1947. The real threat started then, really. And sites like this were starting to sort of spring around. And again, I may have mentioned this in previous anti-aircraft Cold War sites. Some were actually new and some were repurposed from World War II. So in other words, it was previously a World War II site, upgraded it up to a Cold War site, and then you'd get AAOR posts springing up, Cold War ones, just want to word that correctly, springing up. And what people forget, I don't know if you forget it, if you do, if you don't, whatever, who knows. What you're looking at, strangely, is the ground level. But what you're forgetting is that when you're in there, there's two levels, obviously, as we know, but there's the level that's below that. So you kind of normally assume that when you walk into a place, you're at the bottom and then you work your way up or whatever. In this instance, because it is an observation room, they'd need to observe from up above looking down. It was just more practical. So yeah, it's kind of strange to sort of think that although it doesn't look much from the outside, there's a whole other world right beneath it. So yeah, beautiful. Yeah, my friend my friend messaged me and he was like, Dan, because I'm obviously in West Kent, which I've mentioned to you loads of times probably before, which gave me the advantage of always sort of going to places like Surrey, going to East Sussex, West Sussex-ish area, and London, and then obviously stretching across. And my friend, he was like, he got in contact with me, he was so excited, he was like, dude, I think they've opened this place up. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, because if you live in this area of Surrey, this place is actually quite a well-known place, and a lot of people know about it, a lot of people have checked it out. In fact, it was just a well-known site, well, that I knew of anyway, and a lot of other people that I knew about it. But the fact that it was open, and it's just been a pleasure to actually finally go in it, because it is my first time going in it, and it was a pleasure to do so and to actually document. It was amazing. You know, and I always say to people, you know, life isn't a competition, it's about exploring. It should be about looking at the world, looking at what was to look forward. And again, we always say about these Cold War sites, they're an eerie reminder of how close we were to the big red button, the mushroom cloud in the sky. Sorry, go this way, lights. And this place especially, because of how rare they are, how unique they are. I'll put it into context. In Kent, there was two that, so Dover Castle was one, for example, was an AAOR post. But the other one that was really interesting, or would have been interesting, was Fort Bridgewoods. Now, Fort Bridgewoods was situated just, so I'm trying to think, it's about Rochester Airport way. And unfortunately that's not there anymore. So, for one that's still surviving within the southeast, the other one probably be worth mentioning is the one in Vange in Essex, which is owned by a farmer. And again, probably in a better condition, I'd say. Not recorded it for the channel, but it's there. It's not going anywhere as far as I know. Because I'm very lucky. I get people who are really passionate about history and they're like, Dan, can you please check these places out? And I oblige you kindly, because it's great because we can all talk about it. We have a shared and common interest. And it's just a pleasure to come back to this place, finally, and actually record it. To actually go inside, the first time ever for me. I've walked across the footpath that straddles the side of it, and obviously always seen that there's always been habitation, or what always looked like habitation. So again, this site has changed a lot since I last came here. I'm trying to think, probably maybe about a couple of years ago, I think I was having a nosy, and from what I remember, it was I can't remember, but I know enough that it definitely didn't look like this. So yeah, how interesting. But yes, right, there we go. Hopefully I've documented that enough for you. Any more words of Phoenix history? Thank you as always for watching. Stay safe no matter what you're doing, and explore. That's what it's about, isn't it? We need to explore, document history. That's what I'm doing anyway, documenting. And yeah, because history matters, and it really does, doesn't it? Any more words of Phoenix history? I'll see y'all very soon. Goodbye for now. Take care. Kapow!